All right.
Meat.
What?
Instead of eating Hershey Kisses, these strawberry ice cream ones are really good.
Yeah. That's good. All right.
Pretty tasty
We're
too. Man.
back. Stop.
I'm doing it on purpose now. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh. All right. We're
All
back.
right, we're back. Let's do this.
Yeah, that's
No
my
more
thing.
kisses.
What? Stop.
Oh.
Stop it. I burp. I hit you. Yeah, we're back. Graveyard Shift Movie Podcast, episode number 122. This
Cut.
week.
You didn't do the finger guns this time.
I did the finger guns.
You didn't.
I did. As a matter of fact, I did them 3 times, each time when I had to start back over to do the intro. But, episode 122 this week, here to talk about Terrifier 2 from 2022. A lot of 2s in there. Yeah, we saw it a couple hours ago at this point. Went to the theater to watch it. If you watched last week's episode with Barbarian, we ended that episode with being like, all right, we're going to go watch Terrifier 2. So we watched it like an hour after recording that podcast.
Hey, shout out to the channel for picking up the bill on this one, right? Like, bad movies are good when you don't have to pay for them. So shout out to the owner of the channel.
Yeah, that's me. That's me who paid for the movie and drove everybody. And so, yeah, so me and Tyler and Maverick went. Maverick's not here because, you know, I don't know. Technically he could be here, but I don't know how much of it he would remember. He had a bottle of Jack Daniel's apple flavored fucking whiskey.
It wasn't Jack Daniel's. It was called something.
It was like Kentucky, yeah, something. But so he had that and snuck it into the theater and was sipping on that. It was just the 3 of us in the theater. Honestly, that was probably the best outcome because if we watched the movie just like having to like be quiet and watch it, it would have definitely been worse than what it already was. But you know, we got to kind of call out shit and we were cracking jokes while it was happening.
It would have been cool just record it and put the whole thing up as a podcast, but
yeah. But you know, yeah. So in case you couldn't tell from that sentence, this movie blows. I didn't like it. Like, spoiler: neither me or Tyler puked or felt nauseous at any point. Well, I take that back. Tyler did say there was one point where they're eating like possum entrails, and he was like, "I guess I felt a little queasy then," but he's like, "That could have also just been the alcohol that I took a shot of." But yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10. It's very long. I don't remember what I scored the original Terrifier, but that movie has the benefit of being an hour and 20 minutes. So it gets in, does its shtick, and gets out. This movie sticks around way longer than it should. And I don't think, I told them on the way home, I don't think Art even killed that many more people than he did in the first one. Besides, like, there's a dream sequence later, spoiler, where he gets some victims that we'll talk about.
Was it a dream, though?
I think so. Who fucking knows? Like, there was so much stuff. There was stuff in this movie that I was like, oh, so this is only in one person's head. But then, like, other people could see it too, so I don't know. But, yeah, I didn't like it. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. Watch it with some buddies. It'll be better. Yeah. Tyler, what are you going to give Terrifier 2?
I'm going to give it a 1 out of 10.
Goddamn, you changed your score from the point of when I dropped you off in your car to now.
I was thinking about it while I was eating wings.
Uh-huh.
Like, the only thing this movie is gore.
Yeah.
It's just pure gore. Nothing else.
Yeah.
No story, no function, no nothing. It's just gore.
I mean, I would say there was a story. I don't know if it was necessarily, it definitely had some interesting things. Mostly, like, we'll talk about some, but with the dad and stuff, and it kept me wondering what was going up. But then I don't know if there was ever any payoff.
You can't call that a story if they say 3 things about it and make it like a thing, and then do nothing with it.
Yeah. Or did they?
So it's kind of like Mav having his CDO. But
yeah. All right. Well, hey, spoiler warning for Terrifier 2. This podcast is probably going to be pretty all over the place because we didn't take any notes. We're kind of, it's fucking 8:30 at night. We're both a little tired. So we're just going to be bullshitting about like stuff from the movie. We'll try to keep it coherent, but I can't promise anything.
We're gonna try to keep it. What's the word? In time. And we'll just focus on kills since there's really no story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, so spoiler warning. Even though I think it's almost like you can't really. Well, I guess yeah. I was gonna say you can't really spoil this movie because there's nothing. But I guess if we're spoiling the kills, and that's kind of what people are going to watch. So yeah. So spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Terrifier 2 and you want to watch it without knowing what the fuck is happening, yeah. First off, don't. And second off, if you still ignore our warning,
Just a heads up, I have not seen the first one, and I didn't feel like I was missing out on much.
No. To be fair, if you haven't seen the first one, I would fill in Tyler on like when characters would pop up. Like at one point, we're in the spoiler warning at this point. So at one point, like this little kid in the movie, I say he's a little kid, but he was probably in high school, the boy, right?
Old Necky?
Yeah, old necky, giraffe neck. This kid has an abnormally large neck, just tall, and we once we noticed it, that was all we could see. I referred to him as one of those turtles for most of the movie. So I spit on my screen. I'm wiping it off. But yeah, at one point he's like they talk about how he's obsessed with like serial killers and stuff. And like stuff like, and he has like this big journal filled with Art the Clown shit. And one the stuff is like newspaper clippings, and it shows like the victims from the first movie. And I told Tyler, I was like, "Oh, those are the people from the first movie." But then every time I would tell him about what happened in the first movie, they would then immediately say what happened in the last movie. Like they're showing the newscast of the lady in the first one who got her face all chewed up and shit. And I'm like, oh yeah, that lady got her face chewed up, and then she killed the news host because she was talking shit about her. And then right after that, it's like she was attacked after she, and it said immediately what I would tell him. So the movie does tell you the stuff about the first one, but none of the characters from the first one pop up except for chewed face lady at the very end. So you don't really need to see the first one. But, yeah, the movie started. I told Tyler, because, the whole thing about this movie is people are throwing up and passing out, and they're having to have security guards in the theaters and stuff to check on people. We never once we didn't have any security guards, as far as I know, in our theater. But there was a little part of me that was worried going in, like, oh man, maybe this is gonna be some gnarly shit. And the movie started, and it went black, and it started up, and it was playing. It would have like taglines from critics about like how gnarly the movie is, and it was showing like glimpses of stuff. And then at the end, it was like, oh, this is the closest you can get to death on film or something by watching a film. And part of me was like, holy fuck, like we're going in. What's about to show? And then it ended up being a commercial for another movie that I guess the company that made Terrifier 2 also made or something. Because it wasn't just part of the normal prequels or the previews. It was like its own special preview at the beginning of the movie. And so I was like, oh. And so then the real movie started, and it was nowhere near as cool of a beginning. So, Tyler muted. Is he clipping his toenails again? Oh.
No, I was farting, but
Yeah.
I forgot. No, not that whole time. I did it, and then I had forgot that
it was one long fart. It was just constant. So yeah, don't
drink generic apple whiskey.
Yeah. So the beginning of the movie got me excited, and then it ended up being that I was deceived, and it was a show and stuff from another movie. But yeah, this movie, I don't know what happens. Art, if you from the first one, he got fucked up at the end, and it makes it look like he's dead. But then, like the movie ends with him, like waking up on the morgue table or whatever, and like the lights are flickering and shit. That's kind of how the movie starts. It's showing how he like came alive, I guess, in the morgue, but it doesn't really. He's just alive, and like he's killing the morgue guy.
It's I don't know anything about art, but for some reason he's immortal.
The first movie never showed any signs of him being supernatural or anything like that. And so then at the end, it was just all of a sudden he was supernatural. This movie goes a lot more into he has some supernatural aspects of him, especially when that girl's fucking him up. Like in the first movie, literally, I think the only big hit he gets on him is the end when he dies.
Yeah, because this one he was. I mean, he shows up in the very beginning and he's missing an eye and he has a big hole in the back of his head.
Yeah,
So I'm like, what?
yeah. And it made I thought he like as he takes his little hammer and he's bashing in the morgue guy's head, and he like reaches in his eye socket and pulls out the eye, and puts the eye in where his missing eye is, and he does like a little ta-da, and he has like mismatched eyes and shit. And that was funny. But then yeah,
That was
he
the only
like
good part of the whole movie.
I don't know. I like when he's trying out the sunglasses later. I thought that was pretty good. But yeah, and then he does where he cracks the guy's head open and he busts it and he like takes out a piece of brain. And so they never show him like stick that brain where his open brain is, but I was like, oh, maybe that's what happened, you know. But yeah, that's how he gets out of the morgue. Oh, excuse me. And then he goes to because he's all covered in blood, and so he goes to a dry cleaner to wash his clothes. And there's a dude like asleep at the front door. And Art strips naked, takes off his little hat and everything. And it's very weird because he has a normal person body. Like the rest of his body is normal. But he just has like the messed up, weird, evil face. So he's sitting there like reading a newspaper, laughing, and it shows it, and it's like a family of 4 is dead after being in a head-on collision, and he's like silently laughing and shit. And then this is part of the bizarre thing of this movie is he looks over as he's laughing, and we see, how would you describe her? It was like a mini female Art where she kind of had the same face. And to me, she looked like she was like 12 or something. Like she didn't look like she was an adult woman. But she's sitting across from Art and like smiling at him. And they have a whole thing where they're like, she's like poking his eye and stuff. And they're laughing. And then they're like playing patty cake. And this is when the guy at the door wakes up. And he looks over and Art is just doing this with himself. That girl's not there. But then later on in the movie, other people can see that girl, but also that girl is popping up in different places at the same time. Because she'll be at the party where the sister was, and then she's popping up right next to the brother. You know what I mean? So I never could tell if that lady was real or what the deal was. And I still don't know. I don't know what was happening there. We thought for a minute, we mentioned it, or I mentioned it earlier. They had this whole thing with the sister and the brother, their dad, and they keep talking about the dad, like he had all these drawings, and that book with the art stuff in it is their dad's journal, and so he's the one that put all that stuff in it, and apparently he was real weird towards the end with the sister, and we learn later he had like a tumor in his head, and he killed himself where he like got drunk and then drove into a transformer and his car set on fire and he burned up and shit. But me and Tyler kept on theorizing that Art the clown was going to wind up being the dad. And that's why he's all like crazy, and somehow the fire, like, we didn't know about the fire till very later on in the movie. but somehow the fire like scarred him, and that's why only the sister and the brother could see the creepy girl, because that's like a sister or something to them, or their Art's dad. Um, Spoiler, I would say that that theory was neither confirmed nor denied, Tyler. Like, they never confirm
Yeah,
it,
I'm
but
not wrong, but I could be right.
yeah, but they never deny it either. So we're still not sure what the whole deal with the dad was about him being crazy or whatever. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. Um, I think the one thing me and you definitely disagree on is on the way home you were saying how you don't think you like Art as a killer. And I think that when Art is not on screen, all I want is for Art to be on screen. Like, I had the complete like I really like him as a character, but I thought the movie was shitty and too long.
I mean, I disagree. He
Yeah.
doesn't really have any personality. He's just a shock guy. So he does things to shock you.
I don't
Like, you
know. I think he's
compare him
full
to
of
other,
personality.
if you compare him to other charismatic killers, i.e., like Ghostface and stuff like that, he gets blown out of the water. But it's like, I don't know.
I don't know. Well, Art does all his stuff silently. He mimes it all. Like,
Which makes it worse, I think.
I don't know. I like it.
I mean, it's a different stroke for different folks, right? But
You know,
it just bugs me.
I guess. Um, yeah. I don't know. There's a part, like I said, where I think his personality comes out perfect. Is later he's like stalking the sister, and she's at this Halloween store buying some fucking like wings for her costume because she was making her own wings, but then she has a dream where Art is like running this clown cafe and there's these people singing, and then Art shows up and starts to spray them all down with a Tommy gun, and then he like starts setting people on fire, and he goes to set the sister on fire, but she is able to get this sword that her dad had given her and like hold it up against the flame, and it reflected, and when she wakes up her like nightstand's on fire, so somehow the fire came in the real life, but she also got shot in the leg in the dream, and that wasn't real when she woke up. So I'm not sure why the fire was real. Like, I don't know, but so her costume's destroyed, so she has to just buy like one at the store. And as she's at the counter, Art is behind her just trying on different sunglasses, and every time she turns around, he's just like posing differently. My favorite part about that probably is he has like these red ones on, and she looks, and he's like holding up the deuces or whatever, and she turns around, and we see over her shoulder that Art like the whole time behind her is still just holding the pose, like he never switches off of it. Um, yeah, and then it ends up killing the best character of the movie, Ricky, who was the cashier there. How do you kill? Oh, Ricky's the guy he like meat cleavered in the head and then chopped his neck off. Wait,
Yeah.
chopped his head off through the neck.
Yep.
Yeah, which yeah, that's cool and all. I will say, I told Tyler, I was like, he doesn't have a vertebrae. It was just an empty neck when he like cut it open. It was just full of jelly. But poor Ricky. Chris Jericho's in this movie.
Yes.
The opening credits, it had Chris Jericho's name, and we were like, oh fuck, Chris Jericho. And so we kept waiting for him to pop up. We were theorizing how Chris Jericho was going to come around. Tyler had a theory that he was going to end up being the dad, and we were going to have a flashback to the dad, or like the dad would come back as a ghost last minute. Because they talked about how the dad saw something in the daughter and how she was part of something. So you were like, maybe there's going to be a weird fucking ghost scene where he comes back and he's like, you have the power, or something weird. So then it ran into a joke where, since it was just the three of us in the theater, we would look for like the funniest person to go, oh, that's Chris Jericho, and just point out people. And then the movie ended, and Chris Jericho hadn't shown up yet, and we were like, "Where the fuck is Chris Jericho?" He's in the after credits, so if you're excited for Chris Jericho, stick around. He's in the. It's like a 10-minute after credit scene where it's the lady who got her face chewed on, and she's in like an insane asylum, and Chris Jericho plays like the fucking what do you call it? The receptionist? Was he just a receptionist?
I think he's a security guard. I think he had a little badge that said security.
I had a seizure. Yeah. Also, Maverick the whole time is like, Chris Jericho. And then finally, Chris Jericho's on screen for like 10 minutes. And Maverick's like, oh, that's Chris Jericho. And we were like, yeah. And he was like, oh, really? I was just guessing. He didn't know who Chris Jericho was. He was just guessing who Chris Jericho was. I say that, I don't know. Maverick had a bunch of bits going on that I was never sure if he was being serious or if he was just smashed or what was happening. Like, yeah. I don't know. He was a strange guy during this whole movie. But yeah, also the after credit scene is just fucking.
It's not worth it.
It's the chewed faced lady, and she's like writing in. It's not period blood. It's like what's the blood?
Blood.
Yeah, it's like because she has a baby coming. So is it what's the blood that doesn't blood come out? I don't know. It's vagina
Pre-birth?
blood.
I don't.
Yeah, and she's like writing shit on the wall, and then finally in like a heart she writes like art plus Ellie or whatever her name is, and then she has a baby, but the baby is just Art's severed head. Cause spoiler, his head gets cut off at the end of the movie. So she just bursts the head, and then the head like smiles and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know what it meant. I'm sure there's going to be a third one because this movie's making so much money. They're absolutely going to make a third one. This is technically the third time Art the Clown has been in a movie. Because there's another one called All Hallows Eve, which is an anthology one, and Art is one of the stories. And I don't remember if it came out before Terrifier, and then they took that character and made a whole movie about him, or if it was after Terrifier, and that's when it popped up. But that movie's kind of weird, too. There's a weird one with, like, an alien that looks like, what's the Black Manta? Is that his name? What's the dude? Aquaman villain?
Yeah, Black Mantis. It might be Mana.
I thought Mantis, too, at first, but then I was like, oh, that'd be weird if he was called Mantis. So
and he's a manta ray, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, maybe it's Mana. But, yeah. What else? What kills do we want to talk about? Oh my god, why is it so blurry?
What happened?
I don't know. I turned around. Art, are you here? There we go. Yeah, what kills do we want to talk about?
None of them are good.
Yeah, none of them. I mean,
okay, let's start. What's your favorite kill?
Favorite kill. My favorite
has to be the mom one, right?
The mom's pretty good. Yeah, it's whether you want the like quick shock, mom getting her head blown off by the shotgun through the car window, or the long drawn out like him with the daughter, where he's just like scalping her and he's like cutting through her back and he like skins her and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's either the quick one or the really long, grueling one. But, yeah, it probably is the mom. Because that was the one that got us the reaction out of us the most, I think. Where we were like, oh, man. You called it right before it happened. Where the mom, her car got, like, shaving cream and shit on it. It's Halloween, so she thinks... Well, first off, she thinks that it was her son who did it. Because she's parked in the garage and she had just had an argument with her son. Because he gets blamed for, like, killing a possum at school. And so she thinks he's this weird little serial killer on the rise. So she's like talking to herself and she's like, as she's wiping off the window, Tyler's like, is Art just sitting in the car? And when she wipes it, Art's like right there. And then, yeah, he just pulls out a double barrel and just blows her head off. And then he sets her body up.
Ruined the moment. Maybe I kind of ruined that. I'm sorry.
You know, I don't know.
But
But
if I
then,
would have said it afterwards, you'd be like, yeah, sure you did.
yeah. And then he sets up her body with her squished up head when the sun gets back. And then he comes in when the sun's there, and he's dressed. He's got like a cooking apron on, and like a pot. And we're like, oh, what's in the pot? What's it gonna be? And it's just mashed potatoes. And we were like, oh, it's just mashed potatoes. And then he like takes the mashed potatoes and stuffs her face with it. And yeah, and Tyler was like, ah, see, he's stuffing her face. But yeah, it's probably the mom. If not
So
the
I'm trying to
mom,
think.
yeah,
So Ricky, he chopped and chopped.
yep.
The poor laundromat guy, he didn't get to see, but he just
Yeah,
stuck
he
a
just
stick
stuck
in
a
his head.
knife through his head or something. Then there was the people he shot up, but they were fake.
The lady playing guitar on fire was pretty good.
Yep. The
But
morgue
she just kept
guy
dancing.
who he squishes his head, takes his eyeball and stuff. And then you never see him kill the friend's mom. You just see her head when he uses it as the bucket for when the kids come trick or treating. See, that's what I'm saying. Like he didn't. I think those are only 5 people we can name who he killed, like for real, not the dream people.
Well, no, he killed the boyfriend by stabbing him in the dick.
I forgot about the cutting off the dick thing. Yeah. And then how did he
his
kill the girlfriend?
So when he ate her heart.
He just keeps beating her chest with that table leg, and then he pulls out her heart. And he like munches it. That was a pretty good one too, but still, I'd probably say the mom.
It looked really fake when he went into the chest cavity, though, right?
Yeah.
It didn't.
Yeah.
The mom thing just looked real. It was what it was.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, there's a part where they go to this Halloween party and they take like one shot of Jack Daniels or something, or I think it's just vodka.
It's like whiskey, just whiskey.
Okay,
that's
yeah.
it.
When they get there and they take this shot, and then for the next 10 minutes we follow the sister, the main character, around, and she's just acting like she's on like she's going up to the walls and she's like, oh, I'm rubbing the walls. There's a weird part where she calls her friend over and there's a plastic skeleton, and we can't tell if she was talking about the skeleton or the wall behind it, where she's like, isn't this so cool? I would just want to live here. And they're like touching it, and they're like, yeah. And we were like, what the fuck is going on? We were like, they must have been drugged or something. And then it ends up being that the friend had spiked the drink with Molly, and so they were, or she was drugged. And we were like, oh, thank God, because we were like, I hope this isn't just how they're pretending alcohol like works. Like, it was so weird. And then finally, when she was like, oh, you're on Molly, I was like, oh, okay, it makes sense now.
Still didn't make that much sense, but yeah.
Yeah, and then she sees the little ghost girl, who we still don't know if it was real or not, and she starts freaking out on the dance floor. And the
Her eyes are changing color, but like I don't know what it.
Yeah, every now and then they would light up yellow, and it would look cool, but I don't know what the fuck was going on. Yeah, and then the friend like makes them leave, and she's like, "You embarrass." Oh, hold on.
Oh God, you pulled the me.
And she's like,
you didn't mute for it.
I didn't know. She's like, "Ah, you embarrassed. You were freaking out back there." And the friend who's drugged is like, yeah, gee, I wonder why. Because she's fucking drugged. And I was like, yeah, you know.
She was like, and Xanax. And I'm like, man, I take those all the time for fun.
Yeah.
Like, this.
Yeah. Also, they add in.
Mess with you that much.
They add in a new skill where Art, obviously, he doesn't talk or make any sound. Even when he's getting fucked up. Like, he's never like, ah. He doesn't even make a grunt or anything. He's always silent. But the ghost girl, maybe real, maybe not, can apparently recreate people's voices, because they kidnap the little brother, and the little ghost girl calls and like sounds like the brother, and she's like, "Oh, I need your help. I'm stuck at the fucking carnival or some shit." So they have to go to the carnival to try to help the brother. But of course, it's a sabotage. That was the Beastie Boys. That was...
Yeah. I realized it after a second.
Yeah. And then, yeah, the sister goes in to, like, look for the brother, and her friend and her boyfriend. I don't know if they were in a relationship or whether they were fucking, because they started fucking in the front seat. But then the girl's like getting worried about her friend, so she goes to call him, and the guy's getting out of the car, and she's like, "Where are you going?" And he goes, "I have to pee pee." he's like, he's like, "Do you want to hold it?" And she's like, "No, you know." So then he goes and pisses, and that's when Art shows up, starts stabbing him in the dick, and he does cut it off. You barely see it though. I was wanting like full on Antichrist, like we were gonna just see like Dick get wrecked, but you never did. So
lucky us.
No, I wanted it. So that's a shame. I did look it up. Felissa Rose is in this movie. She plays the school principal, who like yells.
The one girl
at
who's it's the nipples we saw.
No, that's another one. I don't know who that was, but I want to know. I think that was just a teacher, because Felissa Rose's character, she's the one that comes over and yells at them when they're behind the dumpster poking the possum, because then they make the girl come over.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's Felissa Rose, who is the little girl who was in Sleepaway Camp. We haven't watched that one for the podcast yet, but that's a cult classic right there. And I know she's in other shit, but I can't name that stuff. I know she's in another Sleepaway sequel, like way later down the line, but that's like her most famous role is Sleepaway Camp. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that she has a little cameo in there, so it was cool to see her, I guess. What do you think about the main actress? I thought she was pretty good.
She's alright. They all look like
well, no, I was talking about just ability.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought she was
Not
fine.
bad.
Yeah. You know.
I don't. This movie just wasn't it for me. Like I don't know how to.
Tyler was almost falling asleep. Like he had to sit up at one point from the recliner. He was like, "I'm dozing off."
I didn't know. I literally had to sit up because I was like, "This is gonna be." I don't know.
I mean, an hour in, it was like, all right, this needs to be wrapping up. But it wasn't. It had
an hour in. You sent Matt to get you popcorn, and then he came back with one bag.
This fucking
three
dude.
of us to split.
Yeah, I was like, Maverick, go get us popcorn. You're not gonna miss anything, because at this point, it was like 5-minute scenes of watching the main character make wings and shit. Like, I was like, we'll tell you what happens. And he goes, okay. And so he gets up and drunkenly stumbles away. And then he comes back and he bought a bag of popcorn. He thought I just sent him to buy himself popcorn. I was like, no, I don't care about you. I wanted popcorn. And he was like, oh, I didn't know. And so, yeah. So then he bought himself 2 things. He didn't buy anyone else anything. Yeah.
He bought himself the smallest bag of Takis, which, if you know movie theater food, it's probably like a $6 bag of Takis.
Yeah.
And then he got himself some popcorn.
Yeah. And so he passed it. I ate a couple handfuls, and then Maverick took it back for a while, and then Tyler ended up polishing off the bag. But also, I just realized the first time y'all went to go get snacks, he didn't even like do that right, because y'all were going and he was like, I gotta take a shit. Tyler, can you buy this stuff? And he gave you like $5 for like an order that was for like $15 or something like that.
Nah, it was like $7 or whatever for that Coke, but yeah.
It was 35.
I was gonna be like, just keep your money, but he wouldn't like not take it.
Yeah, this movie cost me $40. Kind of.
At least that's not counting gas.
Yeah, I definitely burned through some gas. I burned through some time.
We got plenty of that.
I don't know, man. I think our days are numbered. Fucking war. It's coming.
Well, I think Mavericks might be, but...
Yeah. What else happened? I'm trying to think of any cool moments I forgot about. I don't know. I could tell you, we could do the budget and box office so far. So if you know anything about this movie, is that this movie is very successful that they didn't think it would happen. Like at this point, it was supposed to be streaming already, but they've been having such good success at the box office. They were like, we got to keep it in, you know. So the movie had a budget of $250,000, and currently it's made $6 million at the box office. So it's made them a good little chunk of change. Like I said, I'm sure that they're gonna make a third one now since this one has been so successful for them. But I don't know. If they make a third one, shorten it. Just shorten it. Honestly, if this movie was half the time it was, and they condensed down like stuff, there was just so many scenes. Like there's like scenes of some of the friends like handing out candy on for Halloween, and it just doesn't like matter. You know, it's like they didn't need that first scene of her looking at all the kids for Halloween. They could have just cut straight to Art coming there and wanting candy, and her not giving it to him, and him like knocking on the door and stuff. But
I mean,
you
how
know,
many times did they just show his van just chilling outside?
they did that a lot. I don't remember if Art had the van in the first one, but he has one in this movie, and they just keep showing it just sitting there, and yeah, just ominous shots of the van sitting there. So, Art does he brings back the scissor whips. He's using those at one point from the first movie. And he's fucking people up with them, but then eventually the girl, like, Wonder Woman catches the scissors and, like, her arm guard for her costume, and then, yeah, and uses it against him, and it, like, sticks in his face at some point. So, yeah. And like we said, like, Art, he makes this, he loves making his weapons, and so he takes a table leg, and he just puts in, like, nails and a blade from a knife in it, and, like, all this shit, and eventually he gets it, like, stuck in the back of his head, and then later on in the movie, he gets, like, shot with a shotgun, he gets a piece of rebar or something, like, stuck through the top of his head, just all this stuff, and he's still, like, he's just super OP in this one. He keeps coming back, and eventually the sword that was left down from the dad and stuff.
Quotation mark sword.
Yeah, yeah. It's like maybe this long. It looks like a big dagger, but Anyway, but he like stabs the sister in the stomach and causes her to fall down into this pit that looks like it's like entering hell. And my favorite part about the pit is you keep hearing voices, and then every now and then you just hear wah, wah, like the little Art the clown horn, and she falls down in it, and then she has another weird nightmare, death dream, where she's like stuck. I told Tyler it was like Now You See Me Too, with the lady trying to escape from the water, where she's all tied up and she's looking at the dead people from the dream she had earlier that got shot, and their eyes are all white, and like she's like, help, you know, and they're not helping, and she drowns and dies again underwater. But then the knife up on the land starts to like vibrate orange light, and then her wounds start to fill up with the orange light, and she shakes and somehow comes back to life because of something involving this power with the sword. And then
it's a weird thing too is the little weird girl had the orange eyes after that.
Yeah.
So I have no fucking clue. There's no way of knowing.
Yeah. I don't know. And then she stabs Art and like hacks at his neck. She never once she can't get a clean shot to save her life until eventually Art just like kind of looks at her, and then he smiles, and she like hits him a couple more times and finally cuts off his head, and that's what ends up killing Art in this movie. Yeah, and then the little weird girl comes in and like picks up his head and walks off with him. But then, like I said, her head gets birthed out later. So, you know, there's that. Oh, I forgot to mention the first time you see that little girl, she's just like diarrhea shitting on the ground for, you know, because it's gross. So
yeah, that's everything in this is just a shock. It's not.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest, we watch a lot of horror films. We watch a lot of shocking stuff. You watch a lot of very shocking things.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, like, the fact that we went and saw this and it was like nothing. Like, we didn't even flinch. I was like, yeah, this is like opening a fucking message from Tom.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm working in a room full of me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like I didn't get scared once. Tyler Tyler got scared one time at the very
A
beginning of the
little
movie.
flinch, a little
Yeah,
reaction.
because they're talking about like Art the Clown or something, and then like one of the characters opens up a cupboard, and a box of cereal falls out, and it makes like like a noise. And out of my peripheral, I saw Tyler do a little like that. And for the a couple, like it would go through like 20-minute chunks, and Tyler would be sitting there and he would go, "Scariest part of a movie was a fucking cereal box." Like he was just,
And
yeah.
it wasn't wrong. Like,
Yeah, and one I was like, "Oh, those must be spookios or something like that."
he laughed at his own joke for so long.
Everyone laughed. It wasn't just me. But anyway, yeah. So the scariest part to Tyler was just a cereal box bombing out.
It was a jump scare, like an
Yeah,
off-screen thing or whatever.
yeah. Also, Tyler said this as well. Part of the reason this movie might have been so bad to us is because we just watched Barbarian, that we thought was very good. I think the same thing happened a while ago, where we watched Dashcam, and that movie was great. And then the next week we watched Black Phone, which is a movie everyone was like is so good, and we had just watched Dashcam, movie in very different paces, very different stuff. And we were like, this movie sucks. And so I think Black Phone probably suffered some because we had just seen Dashcam. But yeah, I think this movie definitely suffered as well because we had watched Barbarian before it, which is by far the superior movie out of the two. I could have went with a 2.5 hour Barbarian movie, right? Why does Barbarian only get an hour 40, and fucking Terrifier 2 is getting 2 hours and 20 minutes? Also, if we decided to stick around, it was gonna have bonus behind the scenes footage with the director and like the writer, and we were like, no, we're good. Like we'll skip it.
Like,
And
I'm a non-violent man, but if I wanted to punch someone, then I would have stayed around and watched
yeah,
to see the two people who deserve to be punched.
we thought it was funny if like it ended up being one of them surprises where they're like there and they're there to talk, and we'd be like, "You fucking suck," like just like, yeah,
Do the water boy.
yeah. They're like, "What? What are you talking about?" Like, boo. So, anyway, oh, I think that's about it. You skim through the movie in your brain real fast. Anything we didn't mention that we should talk about? Any cool parts?
The demon daughter. I'm gonna call her daughter, but
Yeah.
we don't know what the
Art
relationship
munching on
was.
that kid's ankles, but nothing came out of
The
that.
dad, like, for somehow foreseeing everything and
Yeah.
writing everything in this book.
Yeah.
And I think it was just a way to get cool looking art in there to where you could buy it and own it.
Uh huh.
It was just for merch.
Yeah.
So,
It's also weird. Well, I guess he kidnapped the brother because they needed the sister to do something in that pit. They still, I don't know why they needed her. But I remember being like, oh, why did he kidnap the brother? They have a thing where they're like, oh, because the kid was going as Art the Clown for Halloween. And the sister's like, oh, are you going to dress like him because you're afraid? You think if he comes back, maybe he'll see you in his costume and he'll be cordial with you. And the dumb fucking kid is like, what does that mean? And I was like, you fucking moron. And she was like, it means he'll be, friendly or whatever. And so I thought there was going to be like maybe a team up. Tyler told me he saw a gif of Art dancing with that kid. So I thought that was in the movie, but I guess that must have been a behind the scenes thing.
if we would have stayed,
We didn't need to
I
say
don't
it.
know. What was that kid's name? Do you remember?
No. I think it was Josh or Jonathan. It was like Josh or Jonathan. Not sure. I don't remember what the sister's name was.
Sienna, like the truck.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was Sienna. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Jonathan was the kid's name. So, also, there's another weird thing where I think like All Hallows Eve, Art the Clown is played by a different actor. Like it's the only time he's played by a different person. Yeah, and All Hallows Eve he's played by Mike Giuliani. That movie came out 2013. So All Hallows Eve came out 3 years before Terrifier. So I guess they based the character off of him. And then in the Terrifier movies, Art the Clown is played by David Howard Thornton. Shout out to David Howard Thornton. So, also apparently they made sequels to All Hallows Eve. I thought it was just a one-off. Ooh, this doesn't look good. Anyway, all right. I think that's about it. Sorry, it's a little short. Like we said, that was a 2.5 hour movie, and I can't remember most of it. So, I don't know what that says about the movie, or maybe it's just about, maybe it's just me. But, what can you do? Next week, See the Chucky. We're back, and it was funny. They did play a Chucky season 2 ad before the movie, and Tyler was like, "God damn it!" I was like, "Yeah, you can't escape him. He's always around."
They also did that Megan movie or whatever.
Yeah. But
Chucky's arch nemesis. Even
yeah,
though it should be Puppet Master. But it is what it is.
Yeah. So next week we'll be back in Chucky with See the Chucky. Like I said, we're trying to do Halloween Ends on Halloween. That'll be the Halloween episode. I don't know when we're filming though. We were saying like tomorrow morning, in our time that we would film it. But I don't know.
I could possibly try to be off Sunday.
Yeah, it might work.
And that gives you can put it out Monday here, right? Because Monday's
yeah,
Halloween.
Monday's Halloween. Oh, I wish you get Halloween off. I could use another Monday, even though I just took a 4-day weekend. But whatever. So anyway, yeah. So like I said, that's what See the Chucky next week, and then we're trying to do Halloween Ends, and that'll complete once again our Halloween movies for a while until eventually, inevitably, they make another one.
How will they do that? This is the end. It says Halloween Ends.
That's what they said, but they've also said that on like
Spoilers.
7 other movies before, so I'm sure. Yeah.
I mean, Silver Shamrock or whatever.
Yeah, Silver Shamrock. I mean, they did Freddy's Dead. Jason's Dead. Jason Goes to Hell. The Final Friday. All that shit. So
I wonder what Rob Zombie's working on right now.
I don't know. He just made that Monsters movie, so he's probably done for a while. I don't know. I saw that Mick Mars, the guitarist from Motley Crue, was finally like, "Yeah, I'm retiring," and John 5 is gonna replace him. So, which Motley Crue retired, or were going to retire, and then fucking Def Leppard was
Vince
like,
Gill or whatever.
Yeah, Def Leppard was like, "How about you guys come tour with us and we make a lot of money?" And they were like, "All right, we're coming back out of retirement." And finally, Mick
Just
Mars,
this once.
yeah, Mick Mars was
I need
like,
a new boat.
"All right, I gotta stop," because he's got like, his spine's messed up. He's like a hunchback and shit. So, anyway, I don't know what Zombie's up to. We still got that one more movie we gotta watch, the 31 or whatever it's called. We'll watch that one of these days. We'll complete the Rob Zombie movies. But yeah, so that's what's coming out in the foreseeable future. And yeah, link to the gaming channel and everything in the description. Tyler, got some parting words for anybody before we wrap up here?
If you're a horror fan and Terrifier is your favorite movie, then maybe you're not a fan.
Goddamn. What if it's Terrifier 1, not this one?
I haven't seen it, so I can't speak to that, but...
Well, Terrifier 1 has the famous scene of him with the lady hanging upside down naked that he saws in half. And, like, that's a cool kill, and nothing from this movie is anywhere near as memorable as that. So, you're supposed to, like, one-up yourself, but I don't think they did.
I don't... There is nothing horror about this except for gore. Like, it's just... It reminds me of an 80s slasher, but without the fun of it being a slasher. I don't know. It feels like it's just handing it stuff to people,
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Anyway. All right. Well, thanks for listening to us kind of talking about Terrifier 2. Just tiredly remembering stuff that happened. Like I said, all that stuff's coming out.
I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
The experience of watching with you guys and talking as the movie and every
Yeah.
blah blah was great,
Yeah.
amazing. Probably the worst thing we could do for the cast.
Yeah.
Unless you take a pen and a book, you know, and
I could have taken notes. I've done that before, where I'll go in the theater and be like the only person there, or people in front of me, and I'll just sit in the back and turn my phone on dark mode, and I've taken notes. Like I did that for the last Scream movie, and I did it for Halloween, the first Halloween 2018 one. But you know,
we weren't doing this in 2018, idiot. It was Halloween Ends, or what's the one before this one?
No, because I watched Kills I watched Kills at Bag's house. I didn't watch it at the theater. What was the other? Because I've done it twice. I did it for Scream, and then there was another movie I went and saw that I saw by myself, and I was taking
At
notes.
the theater.
Yeah. Huh.
Had to be something big.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe like I was thinking Texas Chainsaw, but none of those are coming out in theaters.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would have been there for that.
Oh yeah.
If you invited, because you like to go to concerts and shit, not invite people to things.
That's not true. It wasn't. I didn't see
realized,
Black Phone in theater.
I just realized the little phone thing ain't in my microphone no more. I wonder how different it sounds.
I don't know.
Maybe that's why you're picking up my farts.
Maybe it was X, or no? I think I watched X at home. I don't know.
I couldn't
Anyway,
watching that in the theater, that might be a little risque. I don't know.
yeah. Oh, shout out to Terrifier, has 700 views on the podcast. So that's the last movie Maverick was on the podcast, was Terrifier. Because then the next week is when we did that Digging Up the Marrow movie or whatever. 7 months ago was Terrifier. So, anyway. All right, thanks for listening.
See you guys.
See you guys next week. See the Chucky. Bye.
Oh, we're doing costumes, right? So if we do it, I don't know. Maybe I'll take a selfie with a costume and then I'll just change my picture.
Yeah.
Can't find my little phone thingy. Now I'm kind of mad. Anyways.
Yeah.